I was peeling the clear plastic film off my new work badge when my sister hissed, "Congrats on your DI job," and I stayed quiet, smiling so hard my cheeks hurt while something inside me cracked. I'm Rhiannon, 28, and I've spent the last 6 years as an operations coordinator at my dad's custom fabrication shop. Most people hear that and picture an easy ride, nepotism, free pass, but the truth is, I earned every ounce of respect I got there because I had to. I always had to. When I was 9, a car ran a red light and turned my childhood into a before and after. I survived, but my body never fully agreed to move the way it used to. My left hand tremors when I'm tired. My speech gets thick when I'm stressed. I've learned to slow down, to choose words carefully, to watch people's eyes when they decide who I am before I finish a sentence. My parents didn't baby me. They protected me. There's a difference, but my sister never saw it that way. My sister, Sloane, has always been the kind of beautiful that makes rooms soften. She's sharp too. Sharp enough to smile sweetly while she cuts you, then act confused when you bleed. Growing up, she swore I got extra attention, that I played helpless, that teachers gave me sympathy grades, that mom cried over my bruises but never noticed her scraped knees. She said it in little ways at first. Jokes, eye rolls, a sigh when I took longer to tie my shoe. Then we became adults, and she got better at hiding it. Sloane married her boss. If you ask her, the story is clean. They waited. They did the paperwork. They talked to HR. He transferred offices. No direct supervision. Nothing technically wrong. If you ask me, I don't even care that she married him. I care that she struts through life like she's self-made, then turns around and accuses me of buying my way in with pity points. I worked for my dad because I needed something stable after college. I'm not ashamed of it. I didn't have to sit through interview rooms where a stranger stared at my mouth like my speech was a puzzle. I didn't have to watch a recruiter's smile tighten when my hand shook passing a pen. At the shop, I could work. And when you work in manufacturing, results are loud. Orders go out or they don't. Clients stay or they leave. Machines break or they run. My dad gave me a job, yes, but he never gave me an easy one. I learned scheduling, vendor negotiations, inventory, compliance, shipping disasters, and what it feels like to hold your breath while a client screams into the phone, then calmly fix it anyway. I learned to be the quiet person in the corner who somehow becomes the reason everything keeps moving. And that's why the headhunter call happened. A company our shop supplied for years wanted someone who understood our process. They said their leadership noticed a pattern. Our deliveries were consistent. Our paperwork was precise. Our turnaround times were getting faster. They wanted the person behind that. When the headhunter said, "We asked who's running your operations," my throat tightened because for once the world was looking at my work instead of my body. I told my dad about the offer. He went quiet, not angry, just thoughtful. Then he admitted something I already knew. The next step up in his company was his chair, and he wasn't moving. "I don't want to hold you back," he said, voice rough. "I want you bigger than this place, Rhi." He said it like a blessing, like I was allowed to want more, so I took the job. My dad insisted on a going away party at the shop, the kind with folding tables, paper plates, and too much food because my mother panics if anyone might leave hungry. Everyone was invited. Employees, clients we knew personally, family, friends, even Sloane. She showed up with her husband, Rhodes, wearing one of those perfectly fitted coats that looks casual but probably costs more than my monthly grocery bill. Their kids trailed behind them, clean and polite, the way children are when they've been warned in the car to behave. At first it was fine. People hugged me. A few of our welders teased me about leaving for the fancy place. My dad made a speech, and I had to blink hard because his eyes went glassy when he said he was proud. That's the thing about having a parent who's been scared of losing you once. Their pride comes with this soft fear underneath it. Like they're still watching the road for that red light. Then, halfway through cake, Sloane drifted closer. She didn't look angry. That's what still haunts me. She looked entertained. She lifted her plastic cup like she was making a toast. "Well," she said, loud enough for the circle around us to hear, "I guess your little accident is paying off again." The words hit my body before my brain caught up. Heat rushed to my face. My fingers went numb. My speech thickened instantly, like my mouth was full of cotton. People stared. Someone gave a nervous laugh, the kind people do when they're praying it's a joke. Sloane kept going. "Come on, be honest. This is a checklist hire. It's smart for them, really. Disability, family business background. Plus, you always make people feel guilty if they question you. It's like you were built for corporate optics." I looked at her and felt something old rise up. Not anger first, shame, like I was 9 again, struggling to speak clearly, watching her glare because I was embarrassing her in public. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to pretend she didn't say it, but she said it right there, where my dad could hear, where my coworkers could hear, where people who respected me could suddenly start wondering if she was right. I searched the faces around us and saw it, that tiny flicker of doubt, not from everyone, but from enough. My father's jaw clenched. He took a step forward, but I shook my head without looking at him. If he defended me, it would feed her story. Poor Rhiannon, protected again. Pity again. Sloane's eyes gleamed like she'd been waiting for this moment for years, so I stayed calm. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I didn't call her names. I just tilted my head and let the silence stretch long enough to make everyone uncomfortable. Then I said softly, "That's interesting." She smirked. "Oh, don't start. You know it's true." I looked past her, right at Rhodes, and watched his smile falter. I didn't accuse anyone. I didn't say the ugly thing directly. I just asked one small question, like I was genuinely curious. "So when your promotion happened," I said, voice steady even though my heart was pounding, "was that also part of a checklist? Or was it more of a personal interview process?" The air changed. Rhodes went red, fast, like a match struck under his skin. Sloane's mouth opened, then closed. Her eyes flashed, not with hurt, but with panic. Her kids looked up at her, confused, because children can feel when adults are lying, even if they don't understand the words. Sloane's voice came out too high. "How dare you?" I nodded, calm. "How dare I what? Ask a question? I thought we were being honest in public." My dad's hand tightened around his ice cup. Someone cleared their throat. The shop suddenly felt too bright, too loud, like the buzzing fluorescent lights were inside my skull. Sloane's cheeks flushed. She grabbed her purse, snapped something at Rhodes under her breath, and they left so quickly her youngest almost tripped. The moment they were gone, my body started shaking. Not dramatic shaking, the quiet kind. The kind that happens when you've been holding yourself together with your fingernails, and you finally let go. My dad came to my side, face pulled tight with worry and disappointment. "You didn't have to do that," he said low. I stared at the smeared frosting on my plate like it was the most interesting thing in the world. "She didn't have to do what she did either," I whispered. He sighed. "She's sensitive about her relationship. You know that." That word, sensitive, made something sour twist in my stomach. Because what about me? What about the years of being called inspiring when I wanted to be normal? The years of people talking slow to me like slurred speech meant a slow brain. The years of pretending it didn't hurt. I didn't argue. I just nodded and walked away before my voice betrayed me. The party kept going, but I felt like I was watching it from underwater. People were kind, extra kind, which somehow made it worse. My mother hugged me too long. A coworker told me I handled it like a champ, and I smiled because it was easier than explaining that I felt stained. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying Sloane's words until they sounded like a chant. Die higher. Checklist. Accident paying off. And then I realized something that made my stomach drop. She didn't say it because she believed it. She said it because she wanted other people to believe it. She wanted to poison the room I was leaving. So when I stepped into my new job, I'd already be carrying doubt like a shadow. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was a screenshot, a message Sloane had sent to someone, and the person had forwarded it to me without any explanation. It read, "If she embarrasses me again, I swear I'll make sure that new company knows exactly what she is." My hands went cold because suddenly, the question from the beginning had an answer forming in the dark. Sloane wasn't done, not even close. Hold on, tiny break. I read the comments when I'm worn out, and seeing your location reminds me. I'm not telling these stories into an empty room. Like, subscribe, and drop your city, state, or country. Now, let me take you back. I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open and that screenshot glowing like a warning sign. I could have called her. I could have begged. I could have tried to be the bigger person. But I knew Sloane. If I reached out emotionally, she'd twist it into proof that I was unstable. If I apologized, she'd treat it like a confession. So I did the one thing she never expected. I said, "Okay," not out loud, just in my head. "Okay, Sloane, let's do this your way. Quiet, clean, with receipts." I opened a folder on my laptop and named it simply Work. Inside it, I saved the screenshot. Then I pulled up my calendar and looked at the date of my new employee orientation. There would be paperwork, HR presentations, compliance forms, and I realized with a slow, steady clarity that if my sister wanted to play corporate games, she was about to learn something. I had spent my whole life being underestimated. Now I was walking into a place where documentation mattered more than charm, and if Sloane tried to touch my reputation, I wasn't going to scream. I was going to let her sign her own name at the bottom of it. I forwarded the screenshot to my own email, then saved it again to a cloud drive I'd never shared with anyone. My hands were steady, but my stomach felt like it was full of wet sand. Then I did something that surprised even me. I made breakfast, not because I was hungry, because I needed my body to believe life was still normal. I cracked eggs, toasted bread, rinsed a coffee mug, and listened to the quiet of my apartment like it could hold me together. When my phone lit up with Sloane's name, I didn't answer. When she called again, I still didn't answer. I knew exactly what she wanted. She wanted me emotional. She wanted me messy. She wanted me to say something she could screenshot and show people later like a trophy, so I typed one line and sent it. "I'm busy today. Talk later." It was bland on purpose. No feelings, no fight. Minutes passed. Then my phone buzzed with a reply. "You always play the victim. You humiliated my family." I stared at the words until my eyes burned. Victim. That word always made me feel like I was being accused of existing. Like surviving a childhood accident was a personality flaw. Like my slurred speech was something I did on purpose to manipulate people. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my laptop again and added her text to the folder. And that was the first micro twist I didn't expect. Sloane, the person who always acted careful, the person who claimed she did everything the right way, was suddenly leaving a trail. The next day was my orientation at the new company. I wore a simple blouse and black pants, the kind that made me look competent without trying too hard. I practiced my name in the mirror, slower, clearer, because nerves always made my speech thicker. On the drive there, I kept thinking about my badge, that plastic film, that comment, the way her voice had slid into the room like smoke. When I walked into the lobby, the receptionist smiled and handed me a visitor sticker. The office smelled like printer toner and lemon cleaner. Everything was glass and soft carpet, and people spoke in that cheerful corporate tone like nothing bad ever happened anywhere. A woman from HR introduced herself as Greer. She had bright eyes and a calm voice that made me feel like she'd seen everything and judged nothing. "Welcome, Rhiannon," she said. "We're happy you're here." I nodded, careful. "Thank you. I'm happy to be here too." My speech caught slightly on the second happy. I felt the familiar flash of embarrassment, that tiny fear that the first impression was already damaged. But Greer didn't flinch. She didn't slow down her voice like I was fragile. She just kept talking like my mouth didn't change my value. That was the second twist. I realized I'd been bracing for a battle that wasn't even happening yet. During orientation, they walked us through benefits, security, compliance, and company culture. There were a few other new hires in the room, all of us holding little folders like we belonged. When Greer asked if anyone had questions, I almost raised my hand, then stopped myself because my phone buzzed in my purse. I didn't look at it until the break, when I stepped into the hallway near the vending machines. The screen showed a message request from a social media account I didn't recognize, no name I knew. No mutual friends, just a single line. "I heard you got hired because of your disability. Congrats." My throat tightened so fast it felt like a hand closing around it. I read it again, hoping hoping I'd misunderstood. Then another message popped in. Not sure why they're lowering standards now. Guess it's all optics. My skin went cold. I could feel the blood drain from my face like someone pulled a plug. This wasn't random. This was Sloan. The timing was too perfect. The words were too familiar. It sounded like her. Not exactly, but close enough. Like someone trying to imitate her cruelty without showing their real face. I stared at the messages and forced myself to breathe through my nose, slow and controlled. I did not reply. Instead, I took screenshots. Then I clicked the profile. It was new. Barely any posts. No photos, no real identity. But it had one detail. A link in the bio that led to a local lifestyle blog. And that blog had an email address listed for business inquiries. I copied it. I didn't do anything yet. I just collected quietly. I walked back into orientation with my shoulders straight, like I hadn't just been slapped in the face by invisible hands. When we reached the part about internal communication policy, Greer casually mentioned something that made my chest tighten. If anyone ever receives harassment related to work, even from outside sources, please tell HR, she said. We handle it discreetly. Discreetly. That word felt like a door opening. At lunch, I sat alone in my car, staring at the steering wheel. My hands trembled slightly, not from fear of my sister, from the old fear of being misunderstood. I imagined walking into HR and trying to explain. I imagined the doubt, the polite smile, the unspoken question of whether I was exaggerating. Then I pictured the party again, the circle of faces, the flicker of doubt, the way Sloan wanted me to feel small. I opened my notes app and wrote 3 things. No emotional messages, only proof. Let her hang herself with her own words. When I got home that evening, I didn't call anyone. I didn't rant to a friend. I didn't cry to my mother. I built my case like I was assembling furniture, one piece at a time, calm, patient. I created a timeline, dates in words, not numbers, so it wouldn't confuse my voice recorder later if I needed to read it aloud. I saved the screenshot from the party threat. I saved her text messages calling me a victim. I saved the anonymous harassment messages from the fake account. Then I did something that felt almost ridiculous. I searched my sister's name on that lifestyle blog, and there it was, a guest post from months ago. Sloan had written it herself, bragging about her power couple marriage and how she built her career through relationships and strategy. She didn't say she married her boss, but she used the kind of language that made it obvious to anyone who knew how to read between lines. At the bottom of the post was a short author bio, and inside that bio was her personal email. My pulse thudded hard once, like my body had finally decided to wake up, because suddenly the anonymous account didn't feel anonymous anymore. If Sloan was dumb enough to brag publicly, she was dumb enough to leave fingerprints. I didn't email her, not yet. I opened the fake social media profile again and studied it like a crime scene. I looked at the writing style, the spacing, the way it used certain phrases. Then a third message arrived. You should be grateful. People like you get everything handed to them. People like you. My eyes stung, not because I believed it, but because I'd heard versions of it my whole life. Teachers who praised me too loudly like I was a charity case. Kids who whispered that I faked it. Adults who told me I was brave when I just wanted to buy groceries without being stared at. I took a screenshot. Then I did a quiet test. I replied with one single word. Okay, that was it. Nothing else. Within seconds, the account started typing, then stopped. Typing, then stopped again. Finally, it sent a message. See, you admit it. My mouth went dry, because that reaction was exactly Sloan. The rush to claim victory. The hunger to twist anything into a confession. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I simply wrote another short reply. What exactly am I admitting? The response came fast. That you got hired because of your disability and family connections. Everyone knows. Everyone knows. I stared at the screen, and a slow, careful smile pulled at the corner of my mouth, because the person behind that account had just made a specific claim, in writing, tied to my workplace. And now it wasn't just cruelty. It was interference. I locked my phone, leaned back against my couch, and let my body shake for a few seconds in the privacy of my own living room. Then I breathed in deep. My sister thought I was soft because I didn't scream. But soft people survive accidents too. Soft people learn patience. Soft people learn to wait. The next morning, I arrived early to my new office. The building was quiet, still waking up. I greeted the receptionist, then went straight to my desk. My badge sat on the corner. The plastic film now peeled off. Smooth, clean, official. I turned on my computer and drafted an email to HR. I kept it simple. I wrote that I was receiving harassing messages related to my hiring, that it seemed connected to a family conflict, and that I had screenshots. I asked for a discreet meeting. No drama, no accusations, just facts. My finger hovered over send, and then the fourth twist hit, sharp as a needle. A calendar invite popped up on my screen. A meeting request for later that day. The title made my heart drop. Concerns regarding new hire background. The organizer, Rhodes, my sister's husband. I stared at that meeting invite until the words blurred. Concerns regarding new hire background. Organized by Rhodes. The same man who had gone red at my party. The same man who'd been praised for doing everything the right way. My first instinct was to call my dad. Then my mom. Then anyone who would tell me. I wasn't crazy for thinking my sister was trying to wreck me on purpose. But I didn't. I opened the email I'd drafted to HR, attached the screenshots, and hit send. Then I walked to Greer's office with my shoulders back and my heart punching, my ribs from the inside. When she invited me in, I didn't cry. I didn't rant. I didn't say my sister's name first. I said, I'm receiving harassment tied to my hiring, and someone may be attempting to interfere professionally. Greer's expression shifted. Not shock, not doubt, focus. Show me, she said gently. So I did. I laid out my phone on her desk and scrolled slowly so she could read the anonymous messages. Then I opened my folder and showed her the screenshot of the threat from the party. Then the text where my sister called me a victim. Then the message from the anonymous account claiming I admitted something I never admitted. Greer didn't interrupt. She only asked quiet questions. Do you recognize the language? Yes. Do you have reason to believe the person knows your workplace? Yes, they mention it. And you said this invite came in today? I nodded and slid my laptop towards toward her. Greer's eyes flicked across the screen. When she saw Rhodes's name as organizer, she went still for a second, like she'd just felt a cold draft. Then she closed my laptop softly. "Thank you for bringing this to me," she said. "You did the right thing." That sentence hit me harder than I expected, because I hadn't realized how badly I needed someone in power to say it. Greer stood. "Do not respond to any more messages. Save everything. We're going to handle this properly." My throat tightened. Am I in trouble? Greer looked me right in the eye. "No, but someone else might be." She stepped out, and within minutes she returned with a man from IT security and another HR manager, a woman named Sela, who carried herself like a locked door. Sela introduced herself, then said, "We're going to place a hold on that meeting. If it needs to happen, it will happen with HR present." I swallowed. Rhodes set it up. Sela's mouth didn't move much when she spoke. I saw. IT asked me to forward the messages, the profile link, and the screenshots to a secure address. I did it without shaking, even though my palms were damp. Then Sela said something that made my stomach drop again. "Rhodes is a vendor liaison," she explained. "He shouldn't be scheduling meetings about a new hire's background. That is not his lane." So the meeting title wasn't just rude. It was procedural overreach, and that meant he knew it was wrong. Greer walked me back to my desk and told me to work as normal. "Let us carry this," she said quietly. "You carry your job." I tried. I really did. But every time my computer chimed, I flinched. And then just before lunch, my phone buzzed again. A new message from the anonymous account. "We already told them what you are. Wait and see." My hands went numb. I stared at the screen, and for the first time since the party, fear pushed past my anger. Because what if someone had already planted doubt in the wrong ear? What if my new coworkers were already whispering? What if my first month became a trial instead of a fresh start? I didn't reply. I took the screenshot, saved it, and then I did the quietest thing I could think of. I walked straight back to Greer. She took one look at my face and said, "You got another message." I nodded. Greer didn't even read it right away. She just motioned for me to sit, then she called IT on speaker. "They contacted her again," she said. "Proceed." Its voice came calm through the phone. "Understood. We're correlating the account activity with external access points. If they used any company systems or identifiable networks, we'll see it." I blinked. "Company systems?" Greer's eyes stayed on mine. People get careless when they think they're right. I walked out of her office feeling like I was floating. Not relieved, not yet, just suspended. The afternoon crawled. Then, near the end of the day, Sela appeared beside my desk like she'd been standing there for a while. "Rhiannon," she said, "we need you in a conference room. Now." My mouth went dry. I stood and followed her down the hallway. Greer was already there. So was IT. And sitting at the far end of the table, stiff as a board, was Rhodes. He looked up when I entered, and his eyes did something I recognized instantly. He tried to take my power by acting bored. Greer pulled out a chair for me like she was making a point without saying it. I sat. Sela folded her hands. "This meeting is regarding improper conduct and an attempted misuse of internal processes." Rhodes let out a short laugh. "I don't know what this is." I had concerns. "I scheduled a meeting." Sela's gaze stayed flat. "You scheduled a meeting titled Concerns Regarding New Hire Background. You are not HR, you are not her manager. You do not have authority to initiate an inquiry into an employee's background." Rhodes's jaw flexed. "It was about risk, reputation, we have clients." Greer spoke for the first time, voice calm but sharp. "Our clients hired her because of her work, not because of her medical history, not because of gossip." Rhodes's eyes flicked to me. "I'm not gossiping." I stayed quiet. Let the silence do what it does. Let him keep talking. Sela turned a laptop screen toward him. Its security traced the anonymous messages to two sources. One is a residential network registered to a household with your last name. The other is a mobile device that accessed our vendor portal using your credentials. Rhodes's face drained of color so fast it was almost unreal. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Sela continued, "We also have the metadata from the anonymous account activity. The login pattern aligns with your portal access windows. Same timing, same device fingerprint." Rhodes swallowed hard. "That's not possible." Greer leaned forward slightly. "Then explain it." Rhodes looked at me like he expected me to jump in, to argue, to accuse, to give him something emotional to grab onto. I didn't. I asked one small question. "Why did you title it that way?" I said softly. Instead of simply asking HR if there was a concern, Rhodes blinked, caught off guard, because I needed it taken seriously. Sela's eyes narrowed. "So you chose language designed to imply wrongdoing." Rhodes's voice rose. "You don't understand. My wife was upset. She said this girl humiliated us. She said she was going to ruin us if I didn't fix it." There it was, the truth slipping out because he felt cornered. He froze the second the words left his mouth. And that was the moment I felt my fear start to burn into something cleaner. Clarity. Greer's gaze softened toward me. "You've been very controlled through this," she said, like she knew what it cost. Sela looked back to Rhodes. "You used your access to target an employee. That violates multiple policies and may violate the law." Rhodes stammered. "I didn't send all of it." "She did. She took my phone once. She said she just wanted to scare her." I didn't react, not outwardly. Inside, something old cracked and fell away. The part of me that still hoped my sister's cruelty was accidental. Sela closed her folder. "We will be contacting the appropriate parties. Your vendor access is suspended effective immediately. You will not contact this employee again." Rhodes pushed back his chair, breathing hard. "You're ending my contract over a misunderstanding?" Greer's voice went colder. "This is not a misunderstanding. This is documented harassment and professional interference." Rhodes stood, eyes wild, and pointed at me. "You're doing this. You did this to us." And I finally spoke, still calm. "No," I said. "You did it to yourselves. I just stopped protecting you from the consequences." He left the room shaking with anger and panic. When the door closed, the silence felt different, not sharp, not threatening. It felt like air after a storm. Sela turned to me. "We will support you if legal steps are needed." My throat tightened. "Is my job safe?" Greer answered immediately. "Your job was never in danger. Your work speaks for itself." I nodded, but my eyes burned. Then Greer added, "There's one more thing." She slid a printed document across the table. It was my offer packet summary. Under it was a section labeled recruitment source. Greer tapped it gently. This role was filled through a referral network. Do you know who originally recommended you to the headhunter pool months ago? I frowned. My dad's client? Greer shook her head. Indirectly. The first name in the chain was a former employee of your father's shop who now works in procurement. She flagged your work and wrote, in her words, that you were the reason the shop's output had improved. My breath caught. Who? Greer said the name. And my mind flashed back to a woman who used to bring me coffee on late shipment nights. A woman I barely knew because she was quiet like me. She never mentioned it, I whispered. Greer smiled softly. People who do real work rarely announce it. I walked out of that conference room with my shoulders shaking. Not from fear, but from relief so heavy it felt like grief. That night, I didn't call my sister. I didn't need to, because the next morning I got a message from my mother. Sloan has been crying. Rhodes lost his contract. She says you ruined her life. I stared at the text and felt something settle in my chest. Solid and final. I typed back. I didn't ruin her life. I stopped her from ruining mine. And that should have been the end. But the final twist came a week later. When a small envelope arrived at my office addressed to me in handwriting, I recognized instantly. Inside was a single folded note. It read, I'm sorry. I didn't think they would actually believe you. I stared at that line until my hands stopped trembling. Because it wasn't an apology. It was a confession that she truly thought my life was something people could dismiss on command. So I placed the note in my folder, locked it away, and walked into my next meeting with my head high, because the truth was simple. She tried to label me as a checklist, but she ended up becoming the cautionary tale they use in training. Now, real talk for a second. What makes situations like this so toxic isn't just the insult. It's the trap behind it. The goal is to push you into proving yourself in a way that makes you look unstable. They poke at your deepest insecurity, then act shocked when you react. And if you explode, they win twice. They get the drama, and they get to call you the problem. That's why staying calm is not weakness. It's strategy. When you keep your words clean, you force the truth to carry the weight. You let policy, history, and proof do the talking. And the hardest part is accepting this. Some people don't want to understand you. They want to control how others see you. The moment you stop performing for their comfort, they get reckless. They overplay their hand. They leave evidence. So if you're ever in a situation where someone tries to shrink you with a label, don't wrestle the label, build the record, then walk away while the consequences chase them.